It is July of 1518 in the city of Strasbourg, and something terrifying is beginning to unfold in the streets. A woman named Frau Troffea walks out of her home and begins to dance. There is no music playing, and she isn't celebrating. She is spinning and stamping in a sudden, frenzied state, unable to stop her own limbs. She continues to writhe and step for hours, then days. Within a week, neighbors start joining her, a count that swells until hundreds of people are compelled to mirror her movements. The physical toll is brutal. Dancers are screaming in pain, their feet are bleeding through their shoes, and inevitably, people start dropping dead in the summer heat from sheer dehydration and exhaustion. This terrifying, involuntary mass physical compulsion held the entire city hostage. The local authorities were entirely baffled. Looking for answers, they turned to the supernatural, deciding the citizens had been cursed by a vengeful Saint Vitus. Their prescribed medical treatment was totally counterintuitive. They hired professional musicians, hoping the victims could simply exhaust the illness and dance it out of their systems. Instead of curing the afflicted, the live music acted as an accelerant. The upbeat rhythms drew larger crowds and spurred the contagion even further. For centuries since, historians have routinely dismissed these dancers. They categorized the event as an elaborate hoax, a group of attention seekers, or a bout of religious panic. But the broken bones and the fatal heart attacks were very real. If they weren't faking the physical toll, we have to ask what actually broke inside the brains of the Strasbourg dancers. Modern biology offers a popular suspect, a toxic black fungus called ergot, which occasionally infects rye crops and contaminates the food supply. Ingesting ergot causes severe neurological reactions. Victims typically suffer from intense hallucinations, painful muscle spasms, and sudden seizures. But as a diagnosis for the dancing plague, it falls apart. Toxic spasms are erratic and random. Ergotism physically cannot produce the sustained, rhythmic coordination required to dance continuously for weeks. Because external poisons do not create highly synchronized group behaviors, the true culprit must be a mechanical failure within the human brain's own network. Look at these scans illustrating functional neurological disorder, or FND. Unlike a structural hardware problem like a tumor, FND is a software misfire. Under the intense psychological pressure of 16th century famine and plague, the brain's emotional centers can overload and override motor control. This results in a complete loss of self-agency. The brain predicts an involuntary movement, and the body executes it, without asking the patient's permission. Frau Troffea was patient zero, suffering from a very real, stress-induced software crash that hijacked her nervous system. That explains one dancer, but how does an internal software crash infect 400 bystanders? Our mirror neuron system creates empathy by mentally imitating observed actions. Normally, a neural firewall stops you from physically acting out what you see, but under crushing trauma, this inhibitor shatters. The illness transmits through sight and sound, hijacking the observer's motor system. Human empathy and our own social wiring had been weaponized by trauma into a contagious epidemic. The authorities eventually stumbled onto the correct solution. They banned all public music and physically separated the crowds, isolating the victims from one another. By removing the visual and auditory triggers, they immediately broke the mirror neuron feedback loop. The contagious signals finally stopped firing. Shutting down that shared sensory input was the only way to let the community's overwhelmed neural networks quiet down and reset. Today, patients suffering from functional neurological disorder face a similar skepticism. Because their scans lack tumors or lesions, they are often told their symptoms are all in their head. Take a look at this monitor. These abnormal wave patterns show that functional dysfunctions are objectively real. They represent maladaptive synaptic changes that carry severe, measurable physical consequences. Extreme stress can literally rewrite motor functions, allowing psychological distress to spread through a crowd like a pathogen. The dancing plague of 1518 proves that the line between psychological distress and physical illness does not actually exist.